Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is behind the steel curtain editor Dave Schofield coming at you again. It's Tuesday. It's a little bit after 9 o'clock. I'll explain that a little bit. And with me, as always, is my big brother Rich. Rich, how's it going tonight?
We get to breathe in that sweet smell of victory again. Hey,
exactly. And we are going to talk about that you need to breathe in the sweet smell of victory. We'll get to that topic very soon. We'll get there. But we'll do a little bit of housekeeping first. First of all, I want to apologize.
I got to do that 2 weeks in a row. Okay, exactly. So that means that the Steelers won 2 weeks ago, and the Steelers won this Sunday. And to quote one of my other very favorites, what I consider one of the best sports movie of all time, we got that one 2 weeks ago. We got that one on Sunday. That's called a winning streak.
There you go.
Do you know the movie?
That is a winning streak. That is a winning streak. But do want to apologize.
What movie am I referencing?
I can't remember. I don't know.
That's from The Natural.
Oh, The Natural.
Which to me is the best sports movie ever made.
I knew it was baseball. I almost said Major League, but I'm like, no, it's not.
No,
that.
It wasn't Major League.
It wasn't Major League. So, no, and honestly, yeah, loved it. It's been
actually, it's in Major League as well.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, they do it in both.
I'm not crazy.
The coach doesn't in Major League and in I know that it was in The Natural somewhere.
Yes.
Okay. I'm wanting to say it's when they have that shrinky guy in there trying to help them figure out how to make a winning streak. But yeah.
I love that movie.
Folks in the live track, you're right. Lou says it in Major League.
Okay.
Which actually Major League is actually number 3 on my all-time sports movies.
But you know what?
What?
That is a great off-season topic. We've talked about it some on the preview before, but that'll be a great off-season topic for us. What I want to do is I do want to apologize. We were a few minutes late. I spoke to Brian Anthony Davis earlier today to figure out the title of the show. He was on the road for work, so we were talking rather than sending messages. And because we said it and didn't write it down, then neither one of us could remember what it was. So we had to convene earlier. And then brothers, hey, even though we saw each other in person this weekend, had a nice family wedding that we attended, we had some stuff to catch up on. Sometimes we have good days, sometimes we have bad days. So we were just taking care of some non-Steelers brother conversation. So sorry about that we are getting going a little bit later, but you know what? I'm really not sorry. I'm really not. So Rich, you got to breathe in that sweet smell of victory. Before we get on, before I go off on a little bit of a rant, I'm in a ranty mood. I really am. I've got plenty to rant about.
Everybody watch out. He truly is in a ranty mood.
I'm ready to go because, sometimes I will tell you this. Steelers Twitter is exhausting. Jeff Hartman says it all the time, and it really is. And I would love nothing more than to just check out during the bye week and not have to deal with it because, everyone wants to talk about what culture we're in now. They talk about, this culture or cancel culture, what term I never hear, but really sums up so much of my existence, troll culture. That's what it is. Can anybody speak online without it being trolling and just, it just kind of gets old. But I would love to check out, but I can't because guess what? I got to have my pulse on this team. I've got to be ready for news and anything going on. It comes with the job. It's just sometimes it can wear down on you. And so guess what? I'm ready to go off on those kind of things today, but I'll hold off for a little bit, and hopefully I won't have to at all. Hopefully we'll just have a good brother conversation, and the live chat will calm me down and everything else.
Well, don't get to the point where you make me drop you off the screen because I just can't take it anymore. Okay, because if it gets that bad, that's what I'm doing to you.
Yeah. Hey.
You're like, it looks like Dave lost internet. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, something happened. It's connection. Here we go. Just make sure you fill up all the airtime. That's my one request. So today, the Steelers practiced. We're talking about practice. Yeah. And you're like, wait, it's Tuesday. It's the bye week. I haven't got a full schedule. I don't know if they're practicing tomorrow or if today was just that practice. It could be today and tomorrow, and then they're off. It might have just been today. I'm not sure how they were going to do it. But you're like, but they don't practice till Wednesday. They get the practices in earlier than normal because
they're not a longer break.
They're not the hardest practices they're going through because they got a lot of time, and then they have a nice long break, and they'll come back. There's a good chance that for next week they throw in like a bonus practice on Monday. I haven't heard an official announcement. It's just something they've done in the bye week before, but I can't remember because when's the last time the Steelers had a bye week?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, I want something to complain about. That's something to complain about. How about the Steelers not having a bye week in 2020? So, I mean, you can say that, well, technically, no, they didn't. They never got to truly do what you would do in a bye week. And now I'm trying to remember. You know what? I'm trying to look it up real quick. When was their bye week in 2019? Oh, it's the same as it was this year. It was week 7. So it was week 7 of 2019, the last time the Steelers had an official bye week, other than the extra week they got before the season started. So, what do you think about the Steelers heading to the bye here, Rich?
I don't know. You said bye, and I was wondering if we ever got the Yinzers guys' little video thing put up on Facebook or something somewhere. That was hilarious.
Oh yeah, I don't know if Michael got it up on social media or not.
I don't know if it ended up there or not.
For those clips from Kyle.
It was hilarious.
Well, it's funny. Part of the reason I couldn't, I got to tell you this now. I got to do it now. Part of the reason I couldn't remember the title to tonight's show is because I sent Brian a fake title yesterday. And then I was afraid he was going to make me use it. So I had to make sure that he knew I was joking. But my fake title was, are the Steelers in sync going into the bye?
Yeah.
That was my fake title for this show. I just couldn't help it. My wife thought it was hilarious. And
you know, I'm going to pull this up. Tyler W. says, honestly happy with the early bye given the injuries. And I decided that about a week ago, Tyler. I was
that's what I was going to
saw where the injuries were. It was like, you know what? For once, I don't think the early bye is such a negative thing for the Steelers. It turns out that just at least particularly this year, I think we're getting it when we need it.
Yeah, and I know some people are like, well, the Steelers sometimes start kind of slow coming out of the bye. Well, here's the other thing. The next game they have is facing the Browns, and we'll talk more about going into the Browns next week, okay? Yeah. But it's still out there. It's the next game, so we might as well talk about it. That the Browns play Thursday, so the Browns have their mini bye, and they are banged up. So they're ripe for the pick in Thursday, but is that mini bye going to help them get a little bit healthier? I don't know. And you know what? I don't care. All I know is that you say sometimes the Steelers come out slow out of the bye. Technically, they had a bye going into week 1. And what did they do in week 1?
Yeah.
They beat the friggin' Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. In Buffalo. So, granted, things had to go their way, but we'll come back to that, don't sweat the path to victory. Enjoy the win. So that is what it is. So I'm ready for the bye week to be done. I know it's going to be a long season. The Steelers, their mini bye week is in December. So at least that's spread out, if you know what I mean. So they'll have that other Thursday night game in December. I'm going to ask you, I'm still in favor if they're going to play 17 games. I'm in favor of 2 byes.
I wouldn't be surprised. Of course, it's not there this year, and it's probably not they're going to be there next year. But I wouldn't be surprised if sometime before too long we see 2 byes.
Yeah, and when it's funny because one of my earliest articles at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com.
Hold on,
go ahead, because
it just dawned on me as I said we could see 2 byes, right?
Mm-hmm. If you say what I was going to say, I'm going to punch you.
You know what? Then you say it.
Right. One of my earliest articles at Behind the Steel Curtain was actually something that I wrote before I joined them, and I refurbished it to go there. It was just when I would write my own articles on my own Facebook page, which I don't even do Facebook anymore. So well, it was about the NFL going to 17 games. And I liked the notion of going to 17 games. It was even my idea to say, hey, the NFC team you're 2 years removed from playing, who finished in the same place as you did the year before, which is exactly what they did. The only thing that was different was I wanted to give every team one neutral site game. So you still had 8 home, 8 away, 1 neutral site. That was something I said that was different. And I still like that because I'm like, Like if it was the Steelers and Eagles, man, put that game at Beaver Stadium. Oh my goodness, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But the other thing was, as I said, add another bye. I was even in favor of cutting the preseason to 2 games. Add another bye, but make that bye the week before the Thursday game, no matter when your Thursday game is.
Yeah.
When you play on Thursday, the week before is your bye. So no team would have to play Sunday then Thursday. That would be the best for player safety. Still give you Thursday games, which the NFL wants for the money, and you'd have a better product on Thursday. Although some of these Thursday games haven't been too bad. So that was just my idea.
You missed one little piece to that.
Okay, what's that?
So if everybody gets 2 buys and they're spread out, you though have technically added not just a 17th week, but an 18th as well. That's more TV money.
Well, see, that's what I said. Well, they added the 18th week. I'm like, go to 19.
Yeah,
well, right now, they're saying, oh, well, the networks wouldn't want another bye because then you don't have as many games each week. Fiddlesticks. So what? You would have a whole nother game, or a whole nother game of weeks. Sorry, a whole nother week of games. That's
you're selling advertisement time.
So what if there's 2 or 3 less games each week? You have a whole nother week of games. Yeah. And really spread it out. I like that. That's something to talk about in the future. But the Steelers are on bye. They practiced today. Coach Tomlin didn't have his regular press conference, but he did talk to the media afterwards, answered some questions. Still, he was asked about Stephon Tuitt, not really any clarity there. Had a terrible answer about James Washington, and why he only saw 8 snaps. And he said it was part of the game plan, based on matchups. Do you believe that? I don't believe it. I
don't either.
I have my own theory. You want to know what my theory was?
What's your theory?
My theory was they didn't know if they were going to have – they played the odds that they might not have both Claypool and Washington. So they prepared for the game as if they would have one of them.
Yep.
And therefore they didn't have the other stuff to where they were utilizing both at the same time very much.
Yep.
That's what I think. I do think that, some of these guys were still a little dinged up. But you don't want to talk about that going into your bye. So, but that's just me. And I mean, James Washington, he had 1 target, 1 catch, and was one of the highest PFF grades for the Steelers offense this week. Whether you like PFF grades.
Which, by the way, 1 target, 1 catch.
It was the first throw too.
On the first throw of the game.
Yeah. It's crazy. So, and it's like, did he tweak something? Did he get hurt? Why isn't he out there? So hopefully, that's one of these changes that hopefully we'll see during the bye week. But it's interesting. I did my normal PFF articles today, and sometimes I get frustrated because some people just will say, oh, you can't trust PFF. I don't always agree with PFF either. I don't. But I look at it as data. It's one set of data. I trust my eyes more than I trust them. But to me, it's almost like having a second set of eyes of what I'm seeing to see if I agree with what they're saying or not. Like when my dad says something about the game, our dad says something about the game that's just bat crap crazy, I can say, your eyes are not seeing what my eyes are seeing. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I say sometimes about PFF. And sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, Trey Norwood did play really, really well with the snaps that he had on Sunday. That's why he had such a high grade and things like that.
Yeah, I was happy to see his high grade as well because I actually said to Kyle at one point during the game that he was having a good game. I said Norwood's playing well.
Yes, he is. He played well, and that showed it. Let's see. There were some other things that I'm like that I thought really showed, like on the defensive side. The middle linebackers they didn't have terrible scores, but they didn't have great scores. They were average. That kind of made sense to me.
Yep.
That had Chase Claypool at the very bottom of the offense. That made sense to me. He really struggled. Yep. The thing that did make sense to me, and I put this in the article, you can check it out at BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. It was an article about, I said the Steelers offensive line led the way in their PFF grades because out of the top 5 spots on offense, 3 of them were linemen. But there was something in there that kind of confused me, and I brought it up. And some people are like, well, why are you complaining about PFF if you're going to report on them? You know what? I'm reporting on them. That's what I'm supposed to do. People want to know what the PFF grades are. Not everyone has a subscription, so I'm giving you the information. And then I give a little bit of commentary about it. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. But anyway, though when it comes to offensive line, they have two different categories that go in that they have other than their overall grade. Those two categories are run block and pass block. Okay, make sense? Yeah. So here's what doesn't make sense. Okay, I'm making sure I'm in the right spot, but here you go. If you look at the pass blocking grades, the highest pass blocking grade of the week went to Trey Turner. He had an 84.5. Okay. Then you look at the run blocking grades. He was the number 2 in the run blocking grade. But the only one who was better was Kendrick Green. He had the number 1 run blocking grade of a 69.8. Turner was a 67.4. So Trey Turner had the highest pass blocking grade, the second highest run blocking grade, but in the overall grades, they had Kevin Dotson higher. I'm like,
that's what I don't understand.
How can Trey Turner have a better pass blocking grade than Kevin Dotson, a better run blocking grade than Kevin Dotson, but yet Kevin Dotson has a better overall grade? I don't get that.
I don't get it. I don't get what they're using for a formula to come up with that.
Exactly. And that's just what I don't understand. And that's why I say it can be really frustrating at times with the way they do stuff. And I'm not knocking either one of those players. I thought both of them did a real nice job in the game. So I'm not trying to say, Trey Turner should have been higher than Kevin. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the numbers don't make sense.
I agree with Mark Tobin. That's the part, Mark, that I agree where PFF is confusing.
PFF is confusing. Yes.
Sometimes, because it's like
here's the only thing, and this is where I took it a little bit further. Okay, so I'm sorry, I know we need to get to the topic, but this is part of what was frustrating me some today. So I take it a little bit further when I'm breaking this down to say the only thing different that I could see that would drop down Trey Turner's grade was he was credited with 1 penalty against him, and Kevin Dotson had none. But Trey Turner's penalty was a false start. He was not the only one who false started. They even named multiple names during the broadcast, if you remember that.
Yes, they did.
But for some reason, PFF attributed that to Turner, who actually seemed like he was reacting more to Chooks moving. Doesn't really matter. And not there. And I'm like, if they knock him for that one play that wasn't a play, that goes back to PFF catching flack for saying, we really brought down Ben Roethlisberger's grade because he threw an interception that was taken away by a penalty. You remember that? I'm trying to try. Was that Buffalo? Maybe it was. I can't remember where they threw an interception, but they threw a flag because they said it probably wouldn't have even been an interception if it wasn't for the penalty that ended up being called. But they knocked Roethlisberger for that play. And I'm like, are you going to knock Turner for that play enough that it drops him below someone else? Because you know what they don't do? When you make that really, really big play, they say, you can't count one play more than another. TJ Watt had an average grade. He was in the middle of the defensive front. He had like a 70.9 for his grade. I'm like, if you're going to knock Turner down because of a penalty that wasn't even necessarily him, how are you not skyrocketing TJ Watt's grade because he made the strip sack play to set up the game-winning field goal? You can't do it both ways.
I know.
So, yeah. So I therefore brought this up as I thought was a great discussion point. And instead of it turning into a discussion point, it came into more of a whole idea of, well, if that's the way you feel, why do you write these articles? I'm like, my goodness, I tried to give you something good to talk about. That's all I was trying to do. So
doesn't mean you, me, or anybody on the website agrees with PFF and what they do. We are not like PFF salesmen out here.
Yeah.
It's just they give something that's out there that then we can use to report on. Whether we agree with what they're saying or how they're doing it, doesn't matter. It just gives us something to report on.
But here's the other thing that people don't realize. They're like, PFF grades are terrible. Do you realize that you're relying on them so much more than you realize? I just used realize twice. I should have picked another word. That's the editor in me that says, come on, change up your words.
Do you realize that
I just realized that.
Do you realize that I realized that
I had a really big realization.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Pro Football Focus or even Pro Football Reference, which is another place I get just a lot of stats. There's a lot of numbers that you get from those websites that you think are real numbers, and they are completely subjective. Yeah. Do you know that tackles are not an official statistic? They are not kept by the NFL. Someone might say this person had the tackle. Someone else might give that tackle to somebody else. They keep track of sacks, but they don't do tackles. So when you say, oh, wow, he had 10 tackles in the game, arbitrary. Which source? Because different sources have it different. So it's tackles, missed tackles. That's another one. Drops. All three of those aren't NFL statistics. Mm-hmm. They are not official NFL statistics. So you're using somebody like a Pro Football Focus or a Pro Football Reference and what they interpret those to be. Yeah. No different than them calculating their grades, other than that we can actually see if that's a drop or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Oh, here, I'm going to bring this. I got another comment I'm pulling up there. So Steelers Pittsburgh said about TJ punching the ball /player and laughing, which makes you think maybe that's the flag that brought TJ scored down.
Yep, that brought his score down. Yeah. And it's funny. Yeah, he wasn't punching the player. He was punching at the ball. But man, oh man, was he going overboard with that, in my opinion. I mean,
what's funny?
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I don't think he was wrong, but I also don't blame them for calling that penalty, too.
Did you watch the game last night?
No, dude. I had 3
I knew you were. I know. I knew you were really tired. I saw
crushed.
guys.
I was asleep on the couch.
I
saw the last 5 plays.
I saw guys doing in that game last night the same exact thing TJ Watt was doing. I was seeing guys taking 3 and 4 swings at the ball, sometimes catching the guy in the shoulder because they're missing the ball and things like that. And I can wait to see if any flags were thrown.
Yeah.
You think any flags were thrown?
No.
But
I will tell you this. One of those punches looked like it did not connect with the ball and hit him. I don't know if it hit him in the head. I thought one of them might hit him in the stomach.
I want to say it was up in here.
But so I don't blame them. But you know what? I'm really glad that TJ Watt didn't let that affect what he was going to try to do later, because he still slapped at the ball and knocked it away to win the game.
Yep.
And here, let's get this. Bring it up.
Wanted to make sure we didn't lose it.
I didn't even look at the rest of the live chat. I've been waiting on this one. Steel Dog 88, $5 in the tip jar. We appreciate it. And he says, do you see them using Trey Norwood more against the Browns? You ready? No. Rich?
Depends.
I'll give a reason why after you answer.
It depends on their game plan against the Browns and what they need, but I don't necessarily see it.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that it's wrong, but they're going to be stubborn. No, you know what? They're going to use, this is my answer. It's not that they should, or either way. They need to use Trey Norwood the way they used him last week. End of story. He was fantastic with what he was doing. If you're like, oh, well, we just want to play Norwood, do it, because he played so well. Are you putting him in the same role in the same situations where he's going to thrive? Maybe they know it. Maybe he can. But what I'm saying is keep him doing what you have him doing. And if you're going to get more of it just based on the matchup, great. If you get less of it based on the matchup, that stinks, because he's playing well doing what he's doing. But the most important thing is to keep knowing you have the confidence that he's going to come through. Knowing that you're going to do it. Just let him do. He knows his role. Keep going.
Yes. Could Trey Norwood, now, that question is different if you ask, do you see Trey Norwood's snap count going up? And his snap count could go up.
Yeah.
But his snap count also could go down, because I think the Steelers will try to use, like you were saying, try to use him in the types of situations where they were using him the other night. Some of that will be dictated on what the Browns are doing offensively.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know who's going to be better to answer that? One KT Smith, who does a breakdown and does the scouting report of the upcoming team. He would have I might have to ask him that. just so I know, to say, but he might not be doing that till next week. So he might be, hey, you got to hold on for that answer. Is he part of a package, which I'm pretty sure, let's see, he's been doing the dime, right? Has he been the one in the dime? Because Millett's been in the nickel. I might have him backwards. Yes. Okay. And just the way they're doing stuff. The question is that something that you could see the Steelers needing to use more against the Browns? I don't know yet, because whenever I watch the Browns play, I'm just too busy in being in awe about how bad Baker Mayfield sucks. So I'm going to continue to say it. You know why? Data. You know what the data is? You give the guy the number one offensive line in the league. You give him 2 of the top 10 running backs in the league. You have 2. No, granted, you don't have them both now, but 2 of the biggest name wide receivers prior to coming to Cleveland, along with adding another quality tight end. You've given him everything. And if he can't win games, then guess what? It's kind of the same thing when you're talking about assessing offensive coordinators and things look the same. What's the one part of the equation that's the same? Ben Roethlisberger. What's the one part of the equation that the Browns can't overcome? It's not like he's playing terrible or anything like that, where it's so obvious that that's the problem. But if you've given that a quarterback, what would Ben Roethlisberger do if you had all that stuff on the Steelers? Oh, I mean, my goodness! Yeah. Look at how many other quarterbacks would, if you put him in that situation. Best offensive line in the league, high quality receivers. Okay, 2 fantastic running backs, great tight ends. Everyone else is going to just thrive so much in that situation.
The issue is you're still asking Baker Mayfield then to win games.
Yeah,
and that's apparently asking a lot. Maybe not a lot, but the Browns are sitting at 3-3, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we can say this now, and then Baker Mayfield could come out and completely torch the Steelers. But
he could.
No, but I'm just saying, they're still 3-3, and it's so funny because the Steelers are 3-3, the Browns are 3-3. But yet the Browns are this up-and-coming AFC team who are 3-3, and the Steelers are, they're this old, barely holding on team that's 3-3. They're both 3-3. Yeah. They're equals right now. So, it's so funny. We've been talking about so much other stuff. We're going to get into the topic of this show, but we'll get there in just a moment. Before the first half ends here, I do want to say there is still time. If you're listening in the live chat, there is still time to get in on the BTSC bye-week bazinga. Sorry, BTSC bye-week bonanza. Jeff Hartman today called it the bazinga to me, and I thought, that would have been such a better name. But the bye-week bonanza, we have extra podcasts that we're running where a lot of us are giving our breakdown so far through 6 games and things like that. We're giving you an opportunity to do that, whether you're a listener, whether you're someone who catches on YouTube. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I'm not sure when mine's going to be Friday night or sometime on Saturday, probably, but it's not going to be just me.
Oh, yay! That was my suggestion, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I'm going to go ahead, because it's just going to be, audio only and everything. I'm going to go ahead and bring 2.0 in on that one. So he and I are probably going to record that tomorrow night and have it set so they can go. So that would be, that's going to be fun. So
yeah, mine goes tomorrow. Mine will be out tomorrow afternoon. But what we're going to have mixed in there eventually, probably either, I don't know if it'll be over the weekend or the beginning of next week, because, to me, the bye week kind of runs until Talman Tuesday, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Where we're giving you all the listeners a chance for you to kind of do the same thing, but we're wanting you to just give yours a nice, quick 60-second audio clip. Take your phone. You got a smartphone. Use whatever voice recording it has on the phone. Try to not have the dogs barking or kids screaming or anything in the background. Give us 60 seconds, of tell us who you are. If you're someone who's in the live chat or comments on the website, if you have a screen name, tell us your screen name. Tell us who you are, something a little like that. Tell me what your thoughts are so far on the season. Say where you think the Steelers are going from here. You've got time to do that in the 60 seconds. And then you're going to email it to one Brian Anthony Davis. I'm going to try to get his email posted into the comment section here. There's a whole article about this on the website that you can look up and get the information there. Email it to Brian, and we're going to put them into, we're going to combine them together into one podcast. Now, if we get more, we might have to do more than one podcast, but it depends on how many people want to do it. This was actually my idea. I just thought it would be neat to hear from you all. And I really thought that was something we would like to do. So take advantage of it. Make sure you do that. That it's your chance to get your voice out there. Keep it clean, keep it real, okay? Because don't do a troll job. We're not going to use it, okay?
I thought Brian's email. I thought everybody would know what that was.
Yeah,
I thought it was Sapphire. Oh, never mind.
Sapphire has my phone at gmail.com.
Okay.
It's BA Davis. I'm trying.
You figure it out and get it in there.
Yeah,
we're going to need to get ready. We're going to
889 at Gmail. And I don't know if it'll actually show up in there. We'll try to get it up there. I'm putting it in the chat. They might block it, but we'll get it up in the second.
It's there.
So all right.
Hey, now I lost it. It's flying along. So Steelers Pittsburgh said let Kyle's go do one. Steelers Pittsburgh. In case you didn't hear that, Kyle's actually going to come on. He and I are going to do one together. Yep.
So and ours aren't a minute. Our podcast
ours are longer.
We're doing a little bit longer. We have more things that we've asked everyone to cover. Oh yeah, and I actually got that email right. Yes, yay me.
Yes, you did.
So you'll have time to basically you and Kyle to do it. That's great, and I had fun doing mine. Hey, we're a little bit over here in the first part, but I wanted to at least bring that up and make sure people knew to do that. The names that I see in here every Tuesday, I would love nothing more than to hear that from you all. I really would. I'm sitting here looking, Steelers Freak, Felicia, Wes, Clarence, Reginald, Tyler, Brian Brown, Brad, Steelers Pittsburgh. I'm just going back through some of these.
Oh yeah.
Sorry if I didn't mention you. A lot of other regulars. Steel Dog 88 who had the super chat.
Mark Davidson doesn't count. He's already doing one.
Yeah, he's already doing one. BMK. All those. All you all. I would love nothing more than to hear you all do that. So the deadline for that's 8 a.m. Thursday. To email those to Brian, so that way we can get them all, compiled, downloaded, all the stuff that we need to do for that. So really looking forward to it. Stick around. We're going to get to this topic, so that way I can kind of say, calm down, Steelers Nation. I'm ready to do that. So if you're with us on the audio, go ahead and roll to part 2. If you're with us here on YouTube or Facebook, we'll be back in just a few moments. Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to the Scho Bro Show. It's part 2. I'm still the Behind the Steel Curtain editor, Dave Schofield, and still with me is my big brother, Rich. Rich, because it's a streak, I almost feel like you have to do it again.
But still breathe in that sweet smell?
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 wins in a row. Might as well do it twice in a show, right?
Hey, why not?
So,
yeah, you got to love that. It's an actual win streak going now after we had the little L streak of 3 games. So, yeah. We wanted to stop talking about that, so let's talk about winning 2 in a row.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, some people were saying that Bad said about Monday at the latest for those clips. If he said that on a show, that's not what he sent me. That I actually put in the article that went out there. If you're just stumbling on the part 2, we're talking about the BTSC bi-week bonanza podcast where we're giving you all a chance to send us a 60-second audio clip about the Steelers. That's what he sent to me. So if he changed it, you know how Brian is. I would say try to get it to him by Thursday. That way, you're good for sure. If some more trickle in, I don't know what he'll do with those. That's kind of his decision. I'm just going by the deadline he gave me. So it is what it is. Rich, gotta love it. I'm sorry.
I know you saw it when I saw it. It made me laugh.
Because it's also goes with the screen name.
Yes.
Of Bad Itch says, can we do a whole episode on groins? So I will. I'll tell you. We can say, yeah, the Steelers have had a lot of groin injuries. I tell you, there are some things I'll keep stuff to myself that you could attribute groin injuries to. You know what I don't attribute groin injuries to? The strength and conditioning coach. So many people say that, and that's a narrative with all kinds of soft tissue injuries that goes around year after year among teams, and it's just not how it works. It really isn't.
No,
I could say
groins and hammies, I think, are the two that I think of right off the bat that I've experienced both myself.
Yes.
And know that it had nothing to do with the strength and conditioning when I suffered each of those injuries.
Yeah, you know what? My sophomore year of high school in track and field, I had a meet. I was going up against some really good. I was only a sophomore, and I was going up against some really good competition of a guy that was ranked pretty high in the state. I really wanted to, I didn't know that I could beat him. I just wanted to throw well, and I didn't. And so what did I do after the meet? I went over and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced until my teammates pulled me over and said, "Hey, we need one more for the Fat Man Relay," which is where they have all the shot put and discus throwers go out and run a 4x100. So I get pulled out onto the track to do that, and I didn't stretch. And I got I want to make sure I get it right. I'm pretty sure it was left quad, right hammy is what ended up going out on me because of the turn I was running. But that was not a fun injury with dealing with both of those at the same time. But anyway, we'll get back to that. There's other
Sorry,
things.
He got us off. That itch got us off topic with groins.
Bad itch. Okay, make sure you put the space in there. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, but that was funny. That was a good one, I have to admit. Hopefully, I would love nothing more than to not have to talk about another groin injury for the rest of this season. So, but another thing I don't want to have to talk about for the rest of this season? People that can't enjoy a victory. It really drives me nuts. And that's why the title of the episode, I gotta look it up again because I messed it up. Don't sweat the path to victory. Simply enjoy the win. Okay, right away after the game.
People need to just breathe in that sweet smell of victory.
Yeah, breathe in that sweet smell of victory.
It doesn't matter if it was pretty or if it was ugly, if it was by a lot or by a little.
Yeah.
Just be happy it's a W.
The narrative. The Steelers could only beat the Seahawks without Russell Wilson by going to overtime. Man, you can't even count this as a win. You know what? Call the NFL. Nope.
Yep. Tell them take it away.
Got to take it away. Can't count as a win.
I want someone to go up to Cameron Hayward and say that they should take that win away and see what happens.
Take it away. You know what? Because it happens all the time.
Yeah.
It happens all the time because that's exactly. I mean, right now there's still an asterisk there. They're still working on it. They're negotiating it in New York in the NFL offices. That even though they're technically the number one seed in the AFC right now, the Ravens aren't really 5-1. They're really 2-4. Well, but you know what? They're only going to give one of them back. They're going to give back the one to Detroit. They're going to say, you know what, Detroit? Yeah, we didn't get that snap off in time. We shouldn't have been kicking from 66. It should have been 71. So we're going to hand that victory over to you because you don't have any. And we have so many right now. We need to redistribute this wealth. So we're going to give back that win and we'll go 4-2 and you all can be 1-5. Okay. Because we know that happened, so. Yep. Okay. Tyler W. What I've been guilty of this too. I have. But so this is as much yelling at myself. But Tyler W. puts $2 in the tip jar, says, putting $2 in the enjoy the win jar. I'm guilty. Yes. And I can't say I've never done this. And I can't say I'm never going to do it again. So sometimes, when I do this,
that's where you and I are different.
What?
We're brothers, but you and I are very different then in that way. Because the Steelers win, I'm always happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I might step back and say, okay, that wasn't pretty, but I'm going to take that. I really hope that the Steelers work on this and this moving forward.
Yeah.
But I always enjoy the win. Oh, I was tickled to death with that win the other night.
It was like
I went nuts when TJ got that strip sack.
Oh, yeah. Because honestly, you know what I was bracing myself for? The tie. Actually, I was bracing for the tie. You know what I'm saying?
I actually put in my knee-jerk article, okay, because, Seahawks had the ball and they were getting down the field. They were getting close to the edge of field goal range and on that third down. And I was like, man, if they got like 5 or 6 yards, they'll probably try a field goal, okay?
Mm-hmm. But at least the Steelers would have got it back, though. You know what I mean?
Right. But I actually put in the knee-jerk article, 3rd and 8 here. Someone on the defense really needs to step up and make a play. And then TJ Watt got a sack.
You, Mr. Trent Jordan Watts.
Okay. And then I thought that after we punted the ball again, I didn't put it in the article this time. I was like, okay, come on, defense. Guys have got to step up. Boom, strip sack.
Yeah.
Boz nails it right down the middle. Game over. I celebrate. Mondays are good when the Steelers win on Sunday.
Exactly. Even when you're going on 3 hours of sleep like myself. So, hey, I was the East Coast guy that sucked it up and did the post-game show. I'm like between myself and Bad and Jeff, I'm like, one of us has to be there. I'll take one for the team. So I'm still paying the price for it because I'm old. I can't, I used to remember staying up all night in my 20s and like even my late 20s. I'm like, this is no big deal. Hey, those night games kill me. But
yeah, take a winner for the team and all this and that. Okay. Some of you folks out there going to sit when I call my brother out on that, you know what that was the humble brag going on there.
What's that?
That was you, and you're just, I took one for the team and this, that, and everything else. That was humble brag.
You know what? And I deserve it. So anyway, getting back to it, my question for you is this. When TJ Watt got that strip sack, did you say to yourself, game?
Oh, yes.
Boswell.
Yeah.
No doubt. I was like, don't even go out and run any plays. They went out and piddled around for 2 snaps. I'm like, just kick it on first down. Just go out and say, you know what? I wonder if he did it for Boz's own mental well-being.
No. Don't you know what happened? Oh, see, you were doing the post-game show. So you had the post-game show on. I was still watching on WPXI, and they were doing interviewing
WPXI.
Okay, I know. Mm-hmm. They're doing player interviews after the game, and they're talking to Boz. Mm-hmm. And I thought this while this was going on the field, and Boz confirmed it afterwards, okay? So the first play, Ben got it back into the middle. Okay, so that's what the first place was about, just putting it in the middle of the field, lining it up good for Boz. They were going to kick on 2nd down, okay? Boz was still over kicking into the net, and they're hollering, we're going now. And Boz wasn't ready to go on the field. So that's why they did the second down play.
It turned over so fast that he needed his warm-up time. And you had the downs to do it. So
and Boz confirmed that after the game, that he wasn't ready to go on, that he wasn't over there ready when they were ready to send the whole kicking team out, and then everybody's like, where's Boz?
And they could have used the timeout, but you know what? They didn't need to. They
didn't want to use a timeout because it still was good. Let the clock run.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't leave a whole lot of extra time because what would have happened if, heaven forbid, Boz slips on the field and misses the kick? Don't give a whole ton of time for Seattle to be able to get down the field.
No. Well, if Boz was smart. If he slips, he should just try to pull his foot back and not actually kick it, and let Big Press fall on it, and then kick it from 7 yards further back on 4th down. But and they're smart enough to do that. So
and they know and they work on. I know, and they know those kinds of things. But that's what that was about. But when TJ got the strip sack at first, though, I will say this: at first, I thought Devin Bush was going to totally take off, run the wrong way, and then he got himself turned around.
I said that on the post-game show,
like,
and apparently TJ said it as well. I'm like, man, I thought I was watching Pee Wee football, and I was going to see
exactly what I thought.
Taken off the wrong way, and no, but I'm like,
tackled by his own teammates.
Yeah, but I don't know that he intentionally ran the wrong way, or if it was just his momentum was carrying there. I'm not sure.
I think his momentum was carrying, and he didn't want to plant and go too hard because he wanted to try to return that thing as far as he could. You know, honestly, he probably wanted to try to take it to the house. What's that?
He didn't want to pull a groin.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. But now it's just I love that the Steelers have Chris Boswell now. 2021 Chris Boswell, loving it. I mean, look at all the other issues. I mean, look, the Ravens have another game they should be giving back. You know, we feel bad for you Colts that your kicker was injured and couldn't, you know, he got one blocked and then he couldn't get the other one down because he was hurt and everything. So, you know, we feel bad that you played it stupid the way you did, knowing you had a hurt kicker and still was trying to settle.
Yeah, we're going to give that one back too. We're really just a 3-3 team.
We'll give that one back too. You know, but you know, the Chiefs, you were in the Super Bowl last year, and yeah, you fumbled it away, but we're not giving that one back. So we'll go to 3-3. You know, you don't do that. And I understand that, you know, sometimes you should come out and crush a team. But this is the NFL. These are all professionals. They really are. I don't care if a team is 0-16. They are not, or 0-17, I guess now. They are not that far away from losing every single game, meaning that there are games in there that they were on the verge of most likely winning, and they just couldn't get across there. So what were you going to say? I know you got something you want to say.
So, you know, sometimes you win games big and sometimes you don't win games big. And maybe people's issue here was you go in 14-0 at halftime and the defense had totally dominated and you think we're going to come out in the second half and just put this away.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be honest, when it comes to offensively versus the Seattle offense versus our defense, do I feel like they made better adjustments at halftime? They might have.
You think? Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And actually, Jeffrey and I have a Vertex coming out tomorrow. He's finishing up the film probably right now while we're doing this show, where we're looking at the third quarter and they're rushing everything in the third quarter and what they did and what happened and what the Steelers need to do to not let that happen again. So that's something to think of. But I mean, it was crazy. I mean, they rushed for 141 yards and 110 of them were in the third quarter. That's insane.
So it's really one of those that even on the broadcast, I worried going out because you saw two very different things said by the coaching staffs.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, Pete Carroll said for them to get their offense going, they had to get their run game going. Mm-hmm. The Steelers said that you know, that their defense needed to continue to worry about taking away Lockett and Metcalf. They're big play guys.
Yep.
So it was like defensively we were focused on something, but the offense for Seattle had turned around to try to focus on something else. So they were actually focused on something we weren't paying as much attention to, and we paid the price for it.
Yeah. And oh, thank you. I saw that a while ago and I didn't realize I didn't bring it up. Wes Hickok.
I knew we get him.
$2 into the tip jar saying rejuvenated. 12-5 first round bye. Here we come, baby. Which is so funny because when they were in the losing streak, Wes, who had the Steelers in the Super Bowl, he was starting to unbelieve. But now he's back on the belief train. Gotta love it. And you know what? It's okay. We're allowed to be up and down as fans. But what I'm saying about enjoying this win is this. Here's my question to you, Rich.
Yep.
Going into the bye, would you have rather the Steelers won this game 35-0 or 23-20 in overtime?
Oh, I didn't care.
That's a great answer.
I didn't care.
That's a great answer. That's a Dave answer, but that's a great one.
No, it's not quite a Dave answer because I'm going to explain why I don't care, and I think that'll make sense. I didn't care. The most important thing for me for the Steelers going into the bye was getting to 3-3.
Yeah. Yeah.
I all week, I was like, the Steelers have to find a way to win this game. I didn't care if it was 2-0 on a safety. I didn't care. The Steelers needed to find a way, win this game, get to 3-3, back to 500, get your bye, get some rest, get some guys healthy, and let's make a second half run.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. I see you. I see what you're saying.
I'm
saying you can look at the advantages either way. It would be nice to just go out and realize, hey, this is how we can play football. But at the same time, I'm reminded of what Jeff Hartman said about when he was coaching lacrosse. And he's like, if we go to scrimmage a team at the beginning, I don't want to win 15-0. I'd rather win 9-8, because you know what? You can look at things going on in there and build on them. This 23-20 victory over a team that, the Steelers didn't cover the spread, if you just want to say it that way. You know what? You got the win, and that's what was important. You needed the win. But now you have something to say, hey, we got the win, but we can't be satisfied with this being a victory moving forward. You're not going to be hearing, that, oh yeah, we got this, everything, the ship is going straight and steady. We righted everything. Although it would be great to feel that way. Is that really how the NFL works? I'd rather them say, hey, look, we now know that this game we were up 14-0. Look at what happened. We've got stuff to build on. We've got stuff to grow on. And it's a lot easier to find it in that circumstances. That's the only thing I'm saying. If you're looking for a silver lining of winning a tough, close game that shouldn't have been that close, that's something you can take into your buy.
Whether that win was 25-0 or 23-20 in overtime, won't matter when it comes to do the Steelers make the playoffs or not.
Yeah.
Score of that game won't matter when it comes to them making the playoffs or not.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that they got from it was they had more points than the Seahawks.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the way you look at it, you're like, oh, well, the way they played the second half, did they deserve to win the game? Yeah. You know why? Because what they did in the first half to put them
because
in
of this
situation.
that drove me nuts.
Yeah. The missed tackling, that was, you know what? I had that number at one point and I got away from it. I can get it back here. The number of missed tackles. And it was a lot. Hold on.
It was a lot.
3, 6, 8, 10. According to Pro Football Focus, I don't have them broken down by quarter just for the whole game, is that the Steelers had 14 missed tackles. That's a PA. Remember, that's not an official stat. I talked about that in the first half. But according to them, that's what they had. So,
and that doesn't surprise us because we had plays where we had 2, 3, 4 missed tackles.
Yeah. And
to me, that's the frustrating part. If a guy gets overly aggressive and misses a tackle and the next guy up on him takes him down, that doesn't bother me so much. Yeah. But when I see 2 and 3 guys not get the guy wrapped up and on the ground, that's rough. Just.
Yep. Before we get to our final question, because we're still going to do one, do you want to talk about the last few seconds of regulation? Jeff did an article about that today. He actually called me because he's like, I want to make sure I'm getting this right. Because he wanted to get the rule and he wanted to know if there should have been a 10-second runoff. But we talked about that. The 10-second runoff only applies if there's a changing of the call on the field to where it would be a running clock when it wasn't otherwise. Yeah. So, for example, if let's say the Seahawks threw a pass with 8 seconds left that was incomplete, and they call it incomplete and they stop, there's 8 seconds left. If they review it and deem it to be a completion in the field of play, then it's game over because it's a 10-second runoff. So it has to be a change in the play and a situation where the clock would then be running. A situation from where the clock was stopped to where then the clock would run. Okay, that's the 10-second runoff when it comes to those kind of things.
Now, I'm not saying it would have changed this call, but a similar situation would have been on this call if they would have said Metcalf didn't fumble the ball before he went out of bounds and they stopped the clock.
And then they find out that
and then they go back and look at it and find out that he did fumble the ball and it was recovered inbounds. They would have then run 10 seconds off.
Waved it off immediately and said out of bounds.
Yes.
and then reviewed it to find that he wasn't. Yeah, game over. That's another thing. It would have been, you know what?
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
How much time was left when
I don't know.
Would have been there.
I don't know if it would have been game over.
Would have been a 10-second runoff.
10-second runoff. Yeah.
Yes.
So that, yeah, you're right. That I wasn't looking at how much time it was because they still had to run over and do all that. I don't know if the Steelers realized it. They had a chance to pile on that dude. Yep. Even though he recovered the fumble, because it was a fumble, they weren't going to get flagged for delaying the game, or they shouldn't have by piling on because there was a loose ball.
Yep.
You could have piled on and been like, well, I'm going for this fumble. He didn't have full control. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But that's a really hard thing to do in that moment to realize that. But I will tell you this.
But it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
Because you and I agreed on one thing when we talked about it.
Yeah.
I think you and I had talked about it and agreed on it. Or maybe you said it on the post-game show and I agreed when I was watching. The buzzing in to look at that play should, first of all, we all know should have never happened because there shouldn't have ever been any question, especially from New York, that ball was caught.
There was nothing to review there.
That was done just in case the Seahawks didn't get the snap and spike.
That's exactly what I said to Jeff.
My opinion, there was 1 second left still on the clock when they spiked the ball.
Yes, there was.
I knew it.
Yeah.
You were watching, you could see it.
Yeah.
It's like, dang it, 1 second left.
Yeah, 1 second left. So they didn't, to me, by them buzzing in, they didn't change what ultimately ended up happening, other than the fact that they gave Seattle, a bunch of time to get set and ready, let their kicker warm up a little more, things like that. No, that's where that's not even that. But the real thing that bothers me is why they were buzzed in. They were buzzed in to make sure they'd get to spike it in case they didn't spike it in time.
Yep.
That's my opinion. I also want to bring this up because this was an issue. Demetrius said, anyone noticed that the refs didn't spot the ball? Seattle spotted the ball and hiked it themselves. That can't be legal. From what I went back and saw, this is what I say. You can run and put the ball down as a player. It's still the ref's job to spot the ball. The fact that you put it there, if it's right, technically the ref should touch it, and I'm pretty sure he did.
I think
but he could deem that a good spot, and it's good to go. Yep. Now, if they don't deem it a good spot, then you can't do that. But they're like,
he's got to pick it up and move it.
The player shouldn't have been around to do it. I even had someone in the comments of the article today go back and said, I'm going back to watch it now to see if the player put the ball in the right spot. And they're like, he did. He put it down. It's not like he gave him more yards or less yards or anything. And if he happened to get it in the right spot and the official's like, I can't spot it any better than that, boom, go. Because let's say a player's running up in the middle in between the hashes and gets tackled and just leaves the ball on the ground. All the official's going to do is make sure it's turned the right way. And if it's already turned the right way, they're not going to do anything with that either. So that really wasn't the big issue with the problem. The big issue wasn't how it worked out, how it ended up. It was the intent of why it happened in the first place. Because Knight
Rider brings this up and says, but the ref was holding his hands out for the ball and he didn't even give it to him. The ref I saw holding his hands out for the ball was not the one who would have been spotting the ball.
Yeah. And you're better off. And that's what the players know in that situation. Don't just hand it to any ref. If anything, run it to the right ref.
To the correct guy.
To the correct guy who spots it.
I have no problem.
Or go put it at his feet, which in essence is what he did. You know what I'm saying?
No problem with what the Seattle player did.
Yeah. Yeah.
None.
I mean,
if that
would have been the Steelers doing that, I would have said
he did
good job.
What if I was a football coach, I would coach players to do.
Yeah.
In that situation. So that I don't have an issue.
My problem is with New York.
With New York.
Stopping it with no other reason to stop it other than to make sure they'd get a chance to kick it. Yep. So and honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I'd say it's about the betting, but that wasn't going to change the spread. You know what I'm saying? So because now that the NFL is dabbling in the gambling, which they said they never do, you always have to question that. We are basically out of time. Rich,
real quick,
what's our big question tonight?
All right, I'm I'm going with yours. Yeah, you and I had a couple out there, and we decided we kind of talked, and I came up with the idea we're going to kind of wait and see how the show went. I was going to kind of keep an eye on things in the live chat. The Steelers are now 3-3 going into their bye week. Now, hey, I'm asking the question. You have to answer it.
Okay.
Steelers 3-3 going into their bye week. Now that we've seen 6 games from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there was one person that already got to do this and did it legally.
Okay.
What do you think the Steelers' final record will be at the end of the season?
Yes. Now, for those of you in the live chat, don't put your answer in
there. Put it up yet.
For us to put it in there. I've got it ready to go, Rich. So don't worry about it.
Wes already got his in there.
He got his in as a super chat earlier. He didn't know it was coming, so that's fine.
He did. Yeah, I thought that was funny when he put that in.
I know. I noticed that. I thought of that too. I almost was going to save it, but here's the deal. But we would have lost it. This is what I'm saying, and I kind of talked about this on my bye week bonanza podcast that'll be out tomorrow at 3 p.m. I had the Steelers at, when the schedule came out in May, I had them at 4-2 at this point. But the thing is, their 2 losses I had in 2 games that they won. So, of course, things are not happening the way that they are at all. I had them overall finishing at 11-6. Because they're 3-3, I'm going to go with this. I want to say 10-7. I want to say one less. Because I'm like, that puts them at 7-4 the rest of the way. I'm not saying could things fall apart? Absolutely. Could things go even better than that? Absolutely. That's just my gut throwing out a number. Do you want to say it, Rich? Do you want to say yours?
Yeah, I will, because honestly, I from the start had put out 10-7, if I remember correctly, and I've decided that with a 3-3 start, I am staying right with mine at 10-7. That would mean that they would need to go 7-4 the rest of the way, which I think
exactly what I said.
Yeah, exactly what you said, and I think finishing with that record or with 7-4 is an achievable goal.
Yep. So. Boy, everyone was ready. I think Knight Rider accidentally hit enter and then was the next one up. So I'm going to give you a break this time. I think it was probably had it up and didn't mean to hit enter. But we'll say Knight Rider says 9-8. Michael O'Malley says he's done with predictions because he's a jinx. Steel Dog 88, 10-7. Brian Brown, 14-3. Steelers Pittsburgh, 12-5 sounds about right. BF Bud, 9-8. Hope better though. Brad Jewett, 10-7 and sneak into a wild card. George OTJ, I think 10-7. 10-7, maybe as high as 12-5. Okay. I'm going to bring up Wes's, even though it's long, because he was a topic of someone. He said, originally I had them going 13-4. I lost faith for a bit, but have gotten back and feel 12-5 is very possible. Okay. It could be good enough for 12. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the next one. George Teston says 10-6-1. Got to throw in that tie. I don't know who the tie is, George. Put it in the live chat. I'll bring it up later. Tell me which game it's going to be. Stacy Lynn says 10-7. Bert Tavares says 8-9. Tomlin's first losing season. Ooh, okay. Brian Blackstock says 10-7 wild card. Tyler W 11-6 and win the division. Shocking Steelers Nation. Okay. Mark says 8. Mark Tobin says 8-9. John Loof says 12-5. We'll just say Marcus. Okay.
Marcus
39. Okay. 11-6. Matt Smith says 11-6. Untouchable 1 says 10-7. Terry Glover says 10-7. Michael O'Malley says saving, because that's what I said. I was just clicking without looking. Marky D, 11-6. AFC North champs. Okay. Demetrios says 10-7. Hope for better. Okay, George Teston says it's the Bengals. They're going to tie the Bengals when they play the
Bengals.
Okay. Jeff Lauderdale says 10-7. Matthew Pierce says 10-7. That's all we have so far. There might be another one or two that comes up. I'm going to give my ultimate disclaimer to this. This goes against my being right now. Not where I was after the first 2 weeks of the season, but where I've been the last 4. And that is with this Pittsburgh Steelers team. I can look at it and because the thing is like 7-4, tell me where they're going to get 7 wins. Thank you. Gabriel Golden says 11-6.
Yep.
People might say, well, where are they going to get those 7 wins? What are those 4 losses going to be? You know what? I don't know. All I know is that every week the Steelers have a chance
you know is you have
to win their game.
All you know is you had them going 4-2, and the 2 games you thought they would lose, they would win. So how can you
expect the unexpected? What am I supposed to do? You know, yeah. That was the theme of my bye-week bonanza. Expect the unexpected, because did Tyler W have his up there, or is this a new one? I'll bring it up just in case.
Okay.
He said he called 10-7 in the beginning, but man, I love the resiliency. I just think the Steelers need to focus on winning their next game. Don't worry about how we're going to get 7 more wins. You know what? You need to get 1 more win, and then you need to worry about the next one. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and trying to make improvements week to week.
Yeah.
You know,
so
the run game against Seattle wasn't as good as it was against Denver, but it wasn't as bad as it was before.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
You know, so it's still, as I said, I felt the run game the other night was still hanging in there.
Yes. And a lot of people are like, but the Seahawks defense, they're 31st going in against the run. You know, you've got to be able to run. You know what? I said it. I don't know if I said it on this show or if I said it on the preview. I can't remember because I do too many shows. When a team goes to their backup quarterback, who rallies more than anything most of the time?
The defense.
The defense.
Yep.
The defense. That's what's going to happen. So I expected Seattle to actually, and I know I said in the preview because I did it based on our over-under picks, is that I'm like, I expect the Steelers to not rush for as much as they did the week before, you know, simply because I think Seattle's going to come out and really have that be a point of emphasis to try to help although he's a veteran, still their backup quarterback who hadn't started a game since 2017. Yeah.
But here's my thing. I'm just glad we didn't lose to a backup quarterback because we're notorious for doing that.
Exactly. You know, really they are. And honestly, we're all, I don't have confidence in beating Seattle. They're just one of those teams that, you know, beat them in the Super Bowl. And then it seems like, you know, you were there the last time the Steelers played Seattle. We don't want to talk about the stuff that happened in that game and things like that. So that's just one of those teams that I'm just like, man, I just don't know. So I'm just glad they got the W. Yes, I would have liked them to win more. I always want them to win more because you know what? I could have started writing my who gets the game ball article way sooner and got more of it done if they would have been up by multiple scores. But no, I had to wait for the game to finish to start writing that thing at 12 o'clock.
I'd have been asleep a lot earlier because it took me a lot longer to unwind after that game. So,
Exactly. I could have started compiling my numbers for my article the next day, but no, I had to wait till the very last second in overtime. So yeah, I'd love them to win the games otherwise, but most importantly, it's getting the win. You got to just, you know, I'm going to use that ugly purple team. I know we need to, this is my final thoughts. Your final thoughts. As that ugly purple team to my east. Oi, look at what's happened to them. They won 3 games. Basically, were they all 3 in a row? I don't even know. There weren't because they had the Denver game sprinkled in there somewhere. They won 3 games they really didn't have that much business winning. They could have just as easily lost all 3 of those games. But you know what? They found a way to win ugly, to win despite the fact that they should have. I mean, it took a 66-yard field goal to beat a team that's now 0-6. And you want to complain that the Steelers went to overtime against Seattle because they didn't have Russell Wilson? I mean, think about that. So, but you know what that turned into? That turned into taking those wins when you didn't play the best and then playing a quality opponent like the Chargers and just stomping them.
Yeah.
You know, do they come around? Do they do that if they lose 2 or 3 of those games? Probably not. But that's what wins can turn into. So that's, to me, you got to make, first and foremost, win. That's the number one priority, win. Then win by more. That's just the icing on the cake.
Yep.
Rich, give us your final thoughts.
Final thoughts is kind of like you're thinking, kind of the win is the win. it's kind of like when I go fishing. Okay, I'm a huge fisherman. I think I said this to you when I took you and your son out this summer, right? When I took,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I say it every time I'm with somebody, or even by myself. Okay, the first fish I catch, I always say, "Oh, good, caught the hardest one of the day." Everything after this is bonus.
Exactly.
Okay? The goal when I go out to fish is to make sure I catch one. Anything I catch after one is a bonus. Same way with the Steeler wins. You get one more point than the other team. Anything more than that is bonus. Is bonus.
And adds years to my life.
So it does, but instead of take them away. But the Steelers are now on their bye week. I want them to get in there, get healthy. You want to know why? I want them to come out after the bye week because I'm ready for another win. More W's. You know what I have to say about more W's?
What do you have to say about more W's?
Can't wait.